Some month ago, I made a video about the rise and fall of World RX, and it absolutely blew up. As a Rallycross fan, I had to be honest about how badly World RX was dropping the ball, and a lot of you felt the same way. But at the start of this season, it actually looked like World RX had listened. Now, 4 rounds into the season, it feels like the right time to check back in and see if they've really turned things around. Is World RX back? As I said in my last video, Rallycross and especially World RX has all the ingredients to be the perfect racing series. Intense tournaments, insane cars, and short, action-packed sprint races. But I think we all agree, over the past few years, the series has completely lost its way. My main arguments for the downfall of World RX were pretty simple. First, they stuck the series behind a paywall while the broadcast quality dropped dramatically. Removing the voice of Rallycross, aka Andrew Coley as a commentator, also didn't help. Next, forcing EVs onto everyone without considering that most teams simply couldn't afford the switch was horrible mismanagement. A lot of you also pointed out how important the sound is for Rallycross, and I agree to some extent. I also prefer the sound of the ICE cars, for obvious reasons. But honestly, if the major issues are fixed, I don't think it would be such a deal breaker to have some EVs on the grid. I still stand by it. On paper, EVs do make sense for Rallycross, but only if the series can keep them financially accessible to the teams, and they also must be balanced well against all the other ICE cars. But let's check out those points step by step and see how 2025 is shaping up. First, World RX is back on YouTube. The simplest fix, but they nailed it. The broadcasting quality has also taken a big step forward again. The live directing still hiccups now and then, but we're absolutely nitpicking at perfectionist level here. The real win is everything around the heats. Stronger behind the scenes coverage, interviews, and clearer, more informative graphics. Shout out to everyone involved. Please keep it up, you're doing a great job. Having Andrew Coley back on commentary also brings so much of the old energy to the events, and I'm also really enjoying the guest features from drivers like Bakarud and Timo Scheider. World RX claims another big win here. Now, let's talk about the racing itself, because it gets a bit tricky here. We also need to make a clear distinction between the 2 Euro RX championships and World RX, because what I'm about to say really only applies to World RX specifically. Generally, the actual racing has always been good among all championships. Euro RX1 and RX3 are amazing, featuring great grids and a great variety of cars. And here's the issue I still have with World RX. We need more cars on the grid in that category to make this championship work. Take round 4 in Finland as a recent example. If Team Hansen hadn't pulled off a last-minute comeback, the entry list would have featured only 5 cars. That's simply unacceptable. I won't get into the reasons why teams are on the verge of dropping out mid-season, because that's not the main issue. The priority has to be making the series more attractive to a wider range of teams in general. Once that is fixed, the rest will naturally fall into place in my opinion, as the series will automatically be more attractive to teams, sponsors and fans again. And I get it, the past few years have been rough. Recent decisions have steered World RX back on track, and maybe we just have to accept that we're still in a transition phase. Many people out there argue that World RX should get rid of the electric cars and that this would boost entries from other teams, but I actually think the battle of technology is a fantastic idea. Sure, there are issues with the balance of performance that need fixing, but I don't think World RX should go down the road of scrapping EVs altogether. The idea of having both internal combustion and electric cars racing head-to-head is incredibly unique, and it could work perfectly in World RX as long as the balance of performance is handled correctly. I don't see any other racing series that could pull this off, so in my opinion it should remain as a key USP. Now, how do we level the playing field between EVs and ICE cars? The goal should be to make it worthwhile for teams to compete without having to invest into expensive EV programs while still being competitive. Since the performance gap between the two isn't massive, my first step would be to increase the minimum weight for all EVs. That adjustment alone might already do the job without the need to restrict power. If we get some additional ICE cars on the grid, I think World RX is checking the box of having a decently sized and competitive grid again as well. Another common point of critique that comes up in many discussions about what can be improved to bring World RX back to its glory days is the calendar. And yes, many fans want more than just 5 or 6 events a year. But on the other hand, going back to a packed calendar like we had in the late 2010s could actually hurt the positive momentum the series is starting to rebuild. Of course, iconic tracks like Lytton Hill have to be on the calendar. That's a no-brainer. But realistically, I don't think more than 8 races are feasible at this stage. Most teams are still operating on a very limited budget, and asking them to ship their entire crew and equipment around the globe every 2 weeks would only discourage them from coming back. Once again, it feels like we are in a rebuilding phase and the series should be careful to not get ahead of itself this time. Now, what does all of this mean? Is World RX truly back in 2025? In my opinion, not quite yet. It looks like the series is finally steering into the right direction, taking cues from its own history along the way. The promotion on and off track is up to speed again. If teams are properly incentivized to rejoin the top league, I see strong signs that World RX could flourish again. With one more event left in 2025, I really hope World RX can nail down a fair balance of performance between EVs and ICE cars, while also attracting teams and sponsors with a sensible, not overblown calendar for 2026. Because the interest from fans is still there, the series just needs the right conditions to grow again. And if you haven't had the chance to check out World RX yet, give it a try. It really is a great spectacle that deserves so much more attention in my opinion. Do you agree with the points of improvement I mentioned in this video? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.